You better believe that diet and nutrition matter in multiple sclerosis. In this video, I'm going to share with you 9 recommendations for upping your game, improving your diet, optimizing your nutrition to live your best life with MS. Don't turn away because that starts right now. Howdy, and thanks for learning about MS with me, Boster. I started this YouTube channel to help my own MS clinic patients learn between visits, and it's my hope that through these videos, I can help you learn too. Today's topic is diet and nutrition, an often overlooked discussion in an MS center. And in this video, I want to share with you what I consider to be 9 top tips, 9 recommendations of things that you can do with your diet and nutrition to up your game and live your best life despite having MS. So let's jump in. Number 1 is a doozy. It's a tough one, but hey, you clicked on the video and you want to learn, so let's do this. When I talk about changing your diet for MS, my first recommendation is to choose real foods, whole foods, and hopefully single ingredient foods. So let's unpack that a little bit. A real food I will define for you as a food that is as close to its natural state as you can pull off. It's unprocessed. There's no added chemicals or additives, and hopefully it's very rich in nutrients. The term whole food is really a similar definition. Again, we're talking about something that is minimally processed and minimally refined, if at all. Hopefully it doesn't need a label because you can identify it, and there should be no sugar added or no refined grains as part of that whole food. A single ingredient food is what it sounds like. It's a food like chicken, apple, asparagus. And if you focus on choosing real food, whole food, and single ingredient food, it will dramatically change 99% of what you're eating. Try it. It will literally force you to change where and how you shop. You'll learn that you can really only shop on the outside of the grocery store where things can spoil and go bad and have to be kept under refrigeration, etc. It will require you to go to the grocery store oftentimes more often because you're not buying heavily processed, heavily refined, boxed foods that can store in your pantry for years and years. It's a change in the way that you approach shopping and eating, and it's the very first thing I'm going to ask you to consider when you're upping your nutrition game in MS. Still on number 1, still keeping in the spirit of food choices and nutrition choices, I want to share with you things that I would ask you to avoid. Again, we're focusing on real food, whole food, and single ingredient food. And so please avoid the following: fast foods, fried foods, sugar-laden foods, heavily processed foods, and importantly, foods with ingredients that you can't pronounce. If you abide by that, and if you avoid soda pop and diet sweeteners, etc., it's really going to help drive you to make food choices for whole food, real food, and single ingredient foods. Try it out. Number 2 should come as no surprise to people that typically follow my channel, upping your water game. I talk a lot about water on this channel because it's really, really important. Increasing your water decreases fatigue in MS. Now, think about this. MS is a disease with the most common symptom being pathologic fatigue, and increasing your water intake can help that. And so I would really like you to do that. Upping your water game does a lot of other things. It can help with thinking and memory, and it can help with mood, 2 other invisible problems that are all too common in the setting of MS. It can decrease spasticity, it can massively help with constipation, and it can decrease the frequency of urinary tract infections. Water is a really, really good idea. Now, ideally, about 100 ounces of water a day. And when you think about it that way, you think, wow, that's a lot of water. And so I want to help you with a couple hacks to integrate water into your daily life. I want you to drink 1 20-ounce glass of water with breakfast. I don't think that's asking too much. Then please drink a 20-ounce glass of water with lunch and a 20-ounce glass of water with dinner. So basically, you're tacking on a large glass of water with each of your 3 main meals. You can do that. Then simply add in a glass of water between breakfast and lunch, and then a glass of water between lunch and dinner. That's going to get you 100 ounces right there, and we're good to go. Now, if you're not eating 3 regular meals, we should talk about that. But Instead, there's different ways of approaching downing so much water. You could, for example, get a water bottle. You'll know how many ounces it is, and then you'll know how many times a day you need to kill it. Try to drink the entire water bottle before lunch, fill it up one more time, and try to drink it before dinner. My point here is by being a little bit proactive, we can plan out our water intake and really up our game. A couple pro tips from a guy that's been working on upping his water game. I really enjoy sparkling water. It doesn't have any calories, but the carbonation makes me feel fuller, and sometimes I'll even put it in a glass tumbler and it makes me feel like I'm having an adult beverage. So that's a trick that I really like to help me get adequate water during the course of my day. I also love squeezing in a little bit of lime or lemon, and that gives it a fantastic flavor without adding any calories. I certainly recommend avoiding sweeteners and zero-calorie sweeteners. Those can be really tricky because they can help you crave sugar and make you end up eating stuff you're not supposed to. And in some weird cases, they can actually spike your insulin, so I would definitely avoid those. Last tip about water is try to drink 2/3 of all the fluids you're going to drink in the first half of your day. Then try to put a relative hard stop on drinking fluids after dinner. You have to keep in mind, please, that when you drink something, you make urine for the next 6 hours. And so if you stop drinking fluids around dinner, you're hopefully going to be done making urine by the time you climb into bed. If, on the other hand, you're drinking water right up into the time when you go to sleep, you risk making urine all night long and then waking up several times to go to the bathroom. Increase vitamin D levels. We get vitamin D naturally through the sun. Now that's a problem because at least here in Ohio, we don't have the sun about 7 months out of the year. And when it's sunny out, we're told to hide and wear sunscreen and avoid sun because of risks of cancer. We make vitamin D through a chemical process when the sun hits our skin, however. And so living in Ohio, most of us run around with very, very low levels of vitamin D. We would like, ideally, for someone impacted by MS to have a vitamin D level that's pretty darn high, above 50 but below 100. And when I check levels in clinic, oftentimes the 25 OH vitamin D level is like 10 or 11. It's insanely low. And so we have to do something to drive your vitamin D up. Why? Because it turns out that low levels of vitamin D increase the risk to develop MS in folks that are pre-puberty. And if you already have MS, it looks like low levels of vitamin D drive your disease faster. Supplementing levels of vitamin D suggest that we might be able to slow those things down, and it's a really, really good idea. So how do we get your vitamin D level up? Well, one way is through being in the sun. Turns out that if you went out near shirtless in the sun for 15 minutes, soaking up the rays, you would absorb about 5,000 international units of D3, which is exactly the amount that I typically am asking patients to take. Now, going out in a halter top in February in Ohio, you can see the snow behind me, is not going to happen. And so that's unrealistic for some people. But if you're fortunate enough to be in a sunny area, you might grab your vitamin D that day just by going out in a halter top and absorbing some sun. All right, so aside from going out half naked in the sun, what's another way of getting some vitamin D? Well, you could eat foods that are high in vitamin D. Beef liver and cod oil are not things that I oftentimes see on my table, but they're super high in vitamin D. And so that's one way that you could do it. There are certain fishes like salmon and swordfish and tuna that are also high in vitamin D. Sardines are high in vitamin D. Sometimes you'll buy milk that's fortified with vitamin D. So there are a couple ways that you can add vitamin D into your diet naturally. Another way, and frankly the most common recommendation that I make, is to pick up vitamin D3 pills at the pharmacy. It's very hard to eat enough cod oil or enough beef liver. And so if you can take, say, 5,000 international units of D3, you're probably very much along the way. Why am I saying D3 instead of D2? It's my opinion that D3 is better absorbed in the human body. Now, it's not my recommendation that you go to the pharmacy and grab some vitamin D without knowing your level and you start randomly taking the pills. Please don't do that. What I would instead recommend is that you work with your doctor and have a blood level drawn. It's a vitamin D 25 OH level. And again, I would like that level in the setting of MS to be above 50 but below 100. Based on your number, we can help determine how much vitamin D you need. Is 5,000 enough? Do you need 10,000? Do you need 50,000 weekly? We can figure that out. And then, by checking a blood level each winter, we can get a sense of if we're doing a good job. Number 3 is upping your vitamin D. It's a super important part of living your best life despite having MS. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. I'm making this video on February 6th, my birthday, and I would love a birthday present from you. Quite literally, it would make my day if you would give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Both of those kind gestures helps the YouTube algorithm know that you dig my content and helps push it out to other people. And it would be an awesome birthday present from you to me. Thank you. Gut health is not to be ignored, and it's often messed up in the setting of MS. Many of my patients suffer from major constipation, or they have IBS where they're constipated and then have massive diarrhea. It's a really big problem, and it can result in not leaving the house for fear that you need to be close to a bathroom. In order to combat constipation and to improve gut health, along with some other health benefits, I would like you to increase the fiber in your diet. Refined grains and white Wonder Bread is devoid of fiber, and so we're going to have to look for foods that are high in fiber, things like eating apples, pears, plums, and green vegetables, all awesome sources of fiber. If you can't get enough fiber in your diet from broccoli alone, you can pick up a fiber supplement. When you're looking in the I can't poop aisle of the pharmacy, you're going to find a bunch of options to purchase. I want you to up your fiber game, and it's going to help regulate your bowels. I find that people that are constipated are less constipated, and people that have diarrhea have less diarrhea. How's that possible? It's because fiber is an indigestible solid. It's like sawdust. So when you add fiber and then you add water, it acts as a sponge and it swells and it mixes with the stool and it makes a large bulky stool that's very easy to hold on to and it's very easy to pass. If you want to live your best life without bloating, without constipation, without bouts of diarrhea, I want you to up your fiber game. Gentlemen should target about 30-35 grams of fiber a day. Gals need about 25 grams of fiber. You can do it. Number 5 is to take probiotics. This really has to do with something called the microbiome. So check it out. Our guts are populated with colonies of bacteria that line the inside of our gut. And in fact, there are more bacteria cells living in our bodies than human cells, which is crazy to think about. And the population, those populations of bacteria in our gut are referred to as the microbiome. It's kind of like an entire little universe of bacteria that are all in balance, processing our food and helping us get nutrition out of the food, etc. There's a problem in the setting of MS, a term called dysbiosis, which is a doctor term for the populations of bacteria are jacked up. They're not the right kinds. Now, there's ongoing research today about whether adjusting that might actually help the immunology of multiple sclerosis, but we're not there yet. That's not prime time. I'm recommending that you take probiotics to repopulate the gut flora with better behaved bacteria, specifically to help your gut health and your nutrition. If there are other advantages to the immune response, that's awesome sauce, but I don't think that science is there yet. Nonetheless, I think that it is a best practice to add in probiotics along with fiber into your diet, and it's been my experience that when my patients take probiotics, their gut health markedly improves. They're much less constipated, they have less diarrhea in some cases, and they overall feel better. Number 6 is ensuring that you have enough protein in your diet. Protein is the building blocks of muscle and super important. It's one of the 3 macromolecules that we think about in nutrition: fat, carbohydrates, and protein. You need adequate protein in your diet, particularly for wound healing. And if you are trying to lose weight and hold on to muscle mass, body recomposition, you need to make sure that you have adequate protein in your diet so that you can accomplish that goal. Generally speaking, I want you to get about 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. So that's a difficult formula for an American that doesn't think in kilograms. So if I translate quickly, a 165-pound human weighs 75 kilos, and they need 75 grams of protein a day. Ideally, I want you to get protein from excellent healthy sources like fish, chicken, lean cuts of meat, etc. Number 7 is to not smoke stuff. And you could say, well, wait a second, Aaron, we're talking about nutrition. Why are you talking about smoking? Well, number 1, it's super duper important and very relevant to MS. And number 2, smoking, drinking, and eating are all kind of wrapped together during things that humans do. And so this is as good of any of a place to talk to you about it. Smoking increases the risk to develop MS. So someone who smokes doubles their individual risk to develop MS compared to if they didn't. If you already have MS and you're smoking, you risk speeding up your disease by almost 50%, which is super scary. Now, the good news is if you stop smoking, you slow it back down. Obviously, it's my goal to help educate you about this and then ask you to please not smoke. Now, I said don't smoke stuff, because I apply the same logic to smoking cannabis. I am a medical marijuana recommender in the state of Ohio, but I do not recommend lighting cannabis on fire and sucking in the smoke. That's super pro-inflammatory. If you have trouble with smoking, there's no shame in that game. I want you to ask your doctor for help. There are a bunch of tools, tricks, and tips and medicines that are super successful in 2022 to help you kick that habit. If you want to live your best life despite having MS, make sure to not smoke stuff. And if you need help, ask. We want to help you. Number 8 is to limit alcohol consumption. Now, I am not telling you that you have to be a teetotaler and never ever have a sip of alcohol if you have MS. I am telling you that we need to be cautious about the risks of alcohol. First of all, alcohol is a sedative hypnotic, and people impacted by MS already deal with a lot of fatigue. So we just have to think about that. Alcohol can inhibit cerebellar or coordination function. It can make you kind of stumble. And people impacted by MS can have difficulties with ambulation. And so we want to be cautious. Alcohol is metabolized by your liver, and most medicines are metabolized by your liver. The average person with MS takes 7 medicines a day. And so we need to make sure that the alcohol and that the medicines aren't taxing your liver too much. And I personally don't think that it's a travesty if you enjoy an alcoholic beverage every once in a while. If you're drinking too much, we need to talk about that. And over time, alcohol can be a poison to the areas of the brain that I mentioned, and it can add a significant number of calories to your diet that you may not want. Alcohol in moderation, in my opinion, is the way to go. You've made it to number 9, the last recommendation in this video. Thank you for sticking it out. This is arguably one of my most exciting recommendations because it's a new learning for me. It's not about what you eat, it's about when you eat. I'm talking about intermittent fasting. Now, any of you that have followed my channel in the last several months know that I have gone on an intermittent fasting journey where I, Aaron, have lost 35 plus pounds and kept it off for many, many months. Not by changing what I ate so much as changing when I ate. I'm using intermittent fasting. I've done a lot of research, and it's my strong opinion that intermittent fasting is safe for people impacted by MS. Now, of course, the caveat is I always want you to talk to your doctor about what's right for you before you accept any of my recommendations. But this is one that I've gotten really, really excited about. It breaks down like this. When you eat something, mostly a protein or a carbohydrate, you spike your insulin, and insulin is the storage hormone. When your insulin levels are high, you can't burn fat. It's not possible. The storage hormone insulin is telling your body to pack on the calories and not to burn fat. So if I eat something and my insulin's high, and then a little bit later I eat something else, the calories I stick in my mouth have only 2 options. I can burn them as energy at that moment, or I can store them as fat. Now, in the era of telemedicine, I would wake up in the morning, start drinking coffee with cream, spiking my insulin, then I'd go to the office and I'd sit in front of a camera for 12 hours, not really moving, sitting, talking to people on telemedicine, and scarfing down a Danish or maybe eating a little snack here or there. I was basically spiking my insulin all day long and not moving. And as I ate calories, I just put them on my belly and on my butt. And then I would go home at night and I would get really, really hungry and I would eat 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Sometimes I would be snacking until midnight. Basically, all day long, I kept my insulin level super high. I never let it come back down, and I never allowed my body to burn my own fat stores. If you stop eating for a period of time, your body burns through the glycogen and glucose stores in about 6 to 8 hours. And after that, it starts looking for other areas of energy and calories, and it will start to use your fat stores. What happens when you don't eat is your insulin level falls. When your storage hormone level falls, now you can access your fat stores. I personally abide by what's called a 16-8 intermittent fasting, where for 16 hours a day, I don't eat, and for 8 hours, I do. I eat from noon until 8 p.m. And then from 8 p.m. until noon, I don't eat. And by virtue of not eating for those 16 hours, I allow my insulin levels to fall and I unlock the ability to burn my own fat stores. And so if I eat, say, 1,500 calories during the day, but I need 2,000, my body goes through 1,500 calories of nutrition I gave it, and it still needs 500 calories, but it doesn't have it. And so it can now access my fat stores and I burn fat. Now, I personally lost a lot of weight. I feel so much better. I'm not snoring. I have more energy. There's a lot of good things going on. And I'm excited to share those benefits with you. I've made several videos about intermittent fasting on this channel. And so if you're interested in the topic, go back and check out some of those videos. I'll throw a link up above here so that you can find it easily and you can kind of see what you think. I'll share with you anecdotally, talking to patients in clinic, it's been really successful. And I've had some great success stories where patients of mine have lost 15, 20, 30 pounds as well. Intermittent fasting has everything to do with when you eat and when you don't eat, not about what you eat, but it's an important aspect of diet and nutrition, which I think is super applicable in MS. One way that you can keep weight off and lose weight is by exercise. And in the setting of MS, some people have a very difficult time doing that. If your legs don't work, it's very hard to get your heart rate up. You can't go running or jogging, what have you. Intermittent fasting is a way of accessing your fat stores and burning fat, and it doesn't involve exercise. And so, for example, for someone who is wheelchair bound and struggling with weight, I think exploring something like intermittent fasting is an awesome option. Diet and nutrition are super important in MS, and I just reviewed 9 top recommendations for upping your game and living your best life by optimizing your diet and nutrition in MS. I would love to know your thoughts and comments. Please include them in the section down below, and I look forward to reading them. And if you'd like to hear more about diet and exercise, click the video that's on your screen right now. Until my next video or my next live stream, or the next time I see you at the Boster Center for MS, this is Aaron Boster on my birthday saying be safe and take care.